very much, everybody that's involved. Now I truly understand how short 7 minutes is, so I'll go through this real fast. But before you start, incredibly honored to be on the same panel as these people. I religiously attend First Thursdays. I've gone to NEPO 5K every year. Tarika Waters has worked with me, and she's got an incredible space that you should check out. Great. Buzzworthy. And I have my own sense of like what I think is success, so a lot of times it's very difficult for me to come up and say I know something, so bear with me. A lot of this stuff is, to use what you said, is I make it up as I go. Great. Principles. So these are the things that kind of drive me, like the foundations. Like I'm infinitely curious. I'm interested in reimagining the environment around me. One of the things that kind of shifted my relationship to Seattle and arts and culture is a sense of immersion. Like I set out to be completely immersed, and then I try to give as much of my time, as much as my money as I can give, and be valuable to others, especially in connecting to people. I love connecting a group of people that should know each other. That suggest friend button on Facebook was invented for me, like specifically. They're like, there's a guy named Yonnas, he's gonna love this, and they're absolutely correct. I actually want to develop an app around that even to improve it. And then one of the things that I saw that started glare back at me was the obvious is the most interesting and the most available territory to build around. And then one that I just love hearing from everybody else is collaborate, 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 collaborate. Now let me go through some case studies, a couple of projects that I've done. Touch Me, I'm Violent. Take 20 artists. Start with the assumption, the obvious, right? It came out of a conversation with a ballerina and another artist, Ben Barris. We just simply asked what it would be like if you allowed the audience to touch the art. And then you give them this permission, sort of like a transgression that they're not allowed to make. And the idea itself kind of makes it possible for it to be buzzworthy. It's like, oh, you can go to the show, it's touch, that's got this name, or you can, something about being violent. People took that to an extreme, but that was part of that. Collect, again, also this is, some of these things, actually all of these things are founded by all the other work people are doing in this city that's amazing. So what we kind of just did was, it started out as a connecting two people. I wanted to connect Alicia Johnson from Office of Arts and Culture and Diana Adams at Vermilion. Sat down together and I was like, hey, let's do a panel discussion about collecting art. And Diana Adams, with all her wit and charm, said, enough of that, that shit has been done to death, let's do something else. So we developed a concept. We were like, well, what can we do with our limited money and limited time? What about if we rent a party bus, loaded people up, and took them from gallery to gallery? But in the background, have the conversation around, hey, you too can take art home. So that's the guy with the big picture of Bob Dylan, right? But you learn. And then here's a spectacular failure, right? Because it went against the principles that I set about in a way, because it was like, oh, I set out to say, what would it be like to release a book of poetry, but to do it in Earth's orbit? Right, I was like, oh, I'm in love with this idea. One of the things that I glossed over real quick, because of time, is every idea, Lola Peters can attest to this, is I have like a committee of people that I call and say, hey, I want to do a show that explores race, but that uses President Obama as the litmus. And then wisely somebody can say that to me, well, I don't know if that's really a good idea, or maybe you should go about it this way. In this case, though, I was like, oh, I'm in love with this idea, but instead of testing it with my inner circle, I'm just going to go ahead and jump and run into it. Not only that, though, I'm going to do it in 2 or 3 weeks and get it off the ground and see how it goes. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot from it, but it kicked my ass. All right. And this, again, I'm a hype, buzz, social media. It's free, it's available. Use it wisely. Don't use it for dating. Hallelujah. Posted this picture July of 2014. I live by this corner building on 12th Avenue in King South, and I simply just asked, hey, I don't know, something about, has anybody been curious about this property? And I noticed how many people responded, and then I was like, oh, there's something there. From there, it was simply like, from immersion, there's a gentleman named Campbell Thiebaud who's like some sort of creative angel or muse who just kind of floats about in the city. And I'd set out in the back of my mind, oh, I want to work with this artist. So we started collaborating and building this. Now it became a year-long project in which we invite people to read poetry from that porch. There's a whole fascinating story about the homeowner being like, why my home? Why? And she's a lovely lady. Her family's lived there for 73 years. Now, we're only 6 months into it. We have another 6 months for the last 154 days. We're calling it Seattle Reads Shakespeare. We're inviting people to recite Shakespeare's sonnet from that porch and other porches around the city. Developed again, all of this has a theme, right, which is collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Everything that I've done is always involved 2 or 3 people or up to 20 people, right? And then a couple of suggestions for you to take away with social media is your friend. Another thing is one of the ways that I reimagine Seattle is I ask myself, okay, what if Seattle for me was a combination of Silicon Valley in San Francisco, New York City, arts culture, Los Angeles film industry. What if it was all these things and reimagined? And I set out to say, okay, who are the writers, papers, who are the artists, the curators, the exhibitions that I should be aware of and attend religiously, right? So that became part of my mindset. So this is where I say, okay, read The Strangers, City Arts Vanguard, make a note of the writers, who you want to engage and be of value to, know the artistic directors. And then here's another one. I actually set out to try to start connecting the small to medium marketing firms and start making relationships with publicists, because there's a lot of skill sets that I'm not really good at, but I wanted to partner with key people that know these things. And then develop relationships, and my recommendation is start making a list of these people if you don't already have, and reach out to them. It turns out, just like you, they're human beings, and that's something I learned. I was like, oh, I was intimidated by these people. A lot of these people actually were very friendly. And then the most important thing, I'm glad I got it in, is that made a huge shift for me from last year, from 3 years ago, being just a spectator and a consumer of what other people have built, to where I feel really immersed and engaged, is this is your ideas will stifle and wither and die in your private imagination. But if you're willing to just take the risk, right, and engage a few people you trust, people who you admire and challenge you, they'll take a life of their own. Thank you very much.